Here is the peak 1980s Rolex. The Rolex 16013, made from 1979 to 1988. And just kidding, it's a fake. First, let's see what I'm wearing today. Today, I'm wearing my Casio G-Shock. And more about this watch. To get started, I think I need to explain how I got this in the first place. And it all started about 3 years ago. When I was a stupid teenager, I couldn't afford a real Rolex. So I went to a certain subreddit that my lawyers, aka ChatGPT, told me not to mention, as this is technically trafficking. Before I downloaded WhatsApp and texted a very sketchy dude, sending him $80 because I was bored and wanted a replica Rolex, as an 18-year-old does with no money. And I requested a replica Rolex Datejust 36mm 16013 with a two-tone Jubilee bracelet and a tapestry dial. Now, those of you that are more astute viewers might notice this is not, in fact, a tapestry dial. This is, in fact, a champagne dial, meaning I got scammed. Now, let me be clear. You should never do this for multiple reasons. That being, you don't know who made the watch since it came from a third world country like India or something like that, and could have been made using child labor. That's right, the most ethical watch YouTuber, right here and only in my second video. Also, you don't know what type of materials were used in this watch, as it definitely isn't steel and the 14 karat gold like in the real thing. According to my sources, it's likely some type of cheap zinc alloy-based metal with perhaps electroplated brass to look like gold. While I don't have the tools to open this case back, it is an automatic movement, and you'll see more on that later, but I'm willing to bet it's some type of Chinese bootleg movement, such as a DG2813 or something like that. Again, this is all very weird information. You're never really going to find it, and every single watch of these is different because they all come from different places. They come from different people. It's constantly moving and stuff like that, and that's another reason why you should not get it, as there's a very good likelihood that you'll get scammed. And I'm just gonna take a minute here, set the time here, because I want to show you this movement running in action. If I can unscrew the crown here, because this movement is very, very bad. You will see why here. Yeah, maybe I should take this off. Just gonna speed through this in editing. Okay, so setting the watch. It's running a little bit because I had to move it a little bit. But that is now in the date function. Pull it out one more. You're in the time function. And let's just set it here. What's the current time right now? It is currently, I don't know if you can see that, it is 9:40 today, thanks to my wonderful Casio watch that you can watch more about in the corner with the 3-watch solution. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna push this crown in there and pull it back out so I can get the date quick set. Really having a hard time here with this. Yeah, you know, maybe I should just take it off here. You can see here, clasp is very cheaply made, you can see. Let me just see if I can't get this set easier now. It's really hard to find the right spot. There we go, okay. But yeah, has the quick setting functions, everything like that. And surprisingly, you can actually wind it. Wind it up here a little bit. If I had to guess, this is probably some bootleg kind of Seiko movement or something. Just ripped straight off of the designs from a stolen Seiko or something like that and manufactured in bulk in China. Anyway, watch is fully wound now, and you can now see the movement moving there. It is not a high beats movement. I don't know if you can exactly see the second hand kind of twitching around there. It is very bad in person. All right, And just like that, we are back now through the power of editing after losing my notes behind this desk I'm recording at. One thing that is very abundantly clear that this is a fake, obviously if you weren't seeing it, is the logo right there. That is way too high up. That is smashing right into the indices. And also the body having a completely different level of polish here. You can kind of see between the bracelet and the lugs of the watch here. That is a dead giveaway, along with, pretty sure all of these should have had pinholes for the case through here. This one does not. But yeah, I mean, the levels of polish in this really are not something that is too out of the ordinary, especially if this was a real one, because, you know, if this is trying to emulate a cheap 16013, you would expect it to be polished badly and have different levels of polish here that you might not see in a factory watch. The next thing that really sets this apart is really weird is that there's one way that this is better than an actual 16013, and that is the crystal here. As this has, as to I believe from the sources I've found, I have no way to actually test this, a sapphire crystal, whereas the real 16013s had acrylic crystals, which is very interesting. However, you know, with our comparison watch here today, you'll see that's a little null and void. And just to show you our comparison watch today, that is our 16200 that I recently picked up. This one is not wound here, but I'll wind it up a little bit so you can see it moving a little bit here. All right, we are back here. The watch is wound, set. Just set it kind of quick here for a little comparison so you can see the two running side by side here. Go ahead and put this back into its pillow, as this is currently the most expensive watch in my collection, which is weird to think about. Anyway, here are the two, the real and the fake. Obviously, I hope you can tell, if you have functioning eyeballs, which one is real, which one is fake. Again, you can really see here, though, that the fonts used really kind of say, even though these are two different generations, this one's a 16013, this is a 1622, or 16200, sorry. Kind of looking through it, you can see what I'm talking about here, how, you know, this watch, all of the polish is kind of the same. As I know, this is factory polish on this watch, has never been polished, it's all original. Whereas this one, you can see here, this is almost like a mirrored. You can see me there in the reflection. And then the bracelet is more of a brushed. One thing about this that is really annoying is that this top bracelet loves to just pop itself out at random times. Yeah, so very annoying. I've literally only worn this watch 3 times in the past 3 years I've owned it. It was really just kind of a stupid impulse buy for $80. But yeah, back to kind of what I was saying earlier, how this has a sapphire crystal, which is different from a real 16013. This 16200 also has a sapphire dial, as this is a 2002, well after Rolex switched to a sapphire dial. In fact, they switched to a sapphire dial when the 3135 movement came out. So there's that. But looking back here at the clasp situation, you know, this is completely different generation, so I'd expect it to be different. This is how a 16013 clasp should look, which surprised me really when I got it, because I was pretty uneducated on watches when I got this at first. To me, these two watches really show the dichotomy of, you know, what a fake Rolex and a real Rolex look like, as the fake is so obviously fake from its sizing of the bezel, how it's too big compared to this one, even though it's a round bezel. These watches have the same general dimensions. This one's a little bit thinner in the thinness category. You can kind of see that there. Otherwise, you know, it makes for a really good comparison, because this is very flashy and it draws towards its flashiness that you tell it's a fake as immediately as you see it. And I can't show it now, but this did actually used to have functioning lume when I first got it. It had probably worked for like a month, and then it died out. I have no clue what type of lume they're using. I'm assuming probably not trinium or anything like that. I don't really know, probably just glow-in-the-dark paint. This very nice Roman numeral dial with the white here does not have lume. Even if it did, it would not be working, as it's a 2002, nearly a 23-year-old watch. Looking at it a little bit more, you can see here, it does actually have Rolex stamped into the crown, which is kind of a rare thing for most watches to have. You can see the kind of how the logo is a little different compared to the real one and the fake there, but interesting nonetheless. More as to what I was saying about this kind of being a good comparison between a fake and a real one, because when you actually do get a real one like what I got, this is what you're probably going to end up with, is a, it might be a little dull, more understated, but that's because when you're wearing a watch this expensive, unless you really have the money, you don't really care what it looks like. You just want it because you like the mechanicals inside of it and the general look of it. It doesn't really bother you too much. Before I got this, I was looking at silver dial 16013s and 16200s, and this one just really stuck out to me because it was for a good price. I liked it. I really like the smooth bezel with the oyster bracelet, as you don't really see too many watches in that combination from Rolex. Everybody kind of goes for what this watch is: the champagne dial, the fluted bezel, the Jubilee bracelet, excuse me there. It really is the difference between big and flashy and understated, and right away if you walk into a room you're going to be able to tell which one of these is real. If I had to describe these two watches to somebody blindly, I would, assuming this is a real one, I kind of want to just talk about the 16013 here and the 16200 a little bit, but I would describe it as a 997.1 Porsche 911 compared to the 997.2 Porsche 911, whereas the 1613 is like the .1, where it's Porsche coming out of the 996 generation. They really upgraded the interiors, brought back more of the retro styling, and just made it overall much better of a car, but it still had some underlying issues like bore scoring, didn't have the best automatic transmission with its tip. But overall, it's a really solid car. But then you get into the .2 territory, which is like the 16200 and the ones around that reference, with the 3135 movement. With, I described it more as a .2 because it doesn't have the bore scoring issues. It doesn't have the acrylic crystal like the 16013 has. It kind of overall made it nicer and more usable. It added the better clasp, made it a little thinner. Adding the sapphire crystal was really a huge thing because you could wear it all the time and not worry about it getting scratched up, I think. And along with that, I think that kind of closes out the video here. You can really see this automatic movement struggling here. One of these days I'm going to have to crack this open and you'll see what is fully inside of it, because, yeah, look at that. I'm just going to let it play out here. You can see it really just likes to skip that first, second, that sixth or first, second, and kind of it. And there's a really big skip that happens kind of here. That's why I'm waiting to show you. So you can kind of see that here. Huh. It didn't do that this time. That's odd. Usually what it does is right around the 45 to 50 indice, it'll just flat out skip 5 seconds basically and jump. I don't know why it's not doing that here right now. Maybe it just needs to be broken in a little bit over the course of 3 years, because I've wound this watch probably 5 times, worn it 3, like I said. Anyway, that concludes this week's episode. Please like and subscribe if you like this watch content. I want to do more car content in the future. That's why I'm kind of bringing in cars and a lot of my closing arguments with these videos here. It's just because it combines my two passions. But please like and subscribe. I want to do more fun stuff in the future with this channel, and that's why I need your support. Thank you.